How would you counsel someone who is actively struggling with this notion of despair of God's mercy and his plan for us? Because there seems to be a more intense fight against not even depression, but just despair at the more so than what has been projected to be normal. And some of us have very hard lives. We don't learn it from our parents. Some parents are outright bad, and we have to learn it from other people, or they don't learn it at all, and they think that God is a joke, or at least that he has abandoned us. So how would you counsel someone to keep their head held high, knowing that God hasn't forsaken us? And how do we know?
One of the most common ways men are ushered into making a mistake is when they look at life not in terms of who they are, but in terms of what transpires. A man only really finds his happiness when he understands that he's a beloved son and learns how to move out of that. In other words, reality is truly identity driven. It's not so much what you do or what's going on inside you. And as long as you make life about what's going on the outside, then you will find yourself into a kind of either a pride or a despair. Or if you tend to move more in who you are, as opposed to that, then you could move into hope. Why? Because your hope is in who you are. And when you see that based in God, then your hope is in God. The difficulty, if you don't see that you're going to make life all about what's going on the outside, and your hope and despair will fluctuate based upon how well things are going. And so sometimes, you may find, you may go to a family celebration or with your buddies and your band or brothers, things may go great. And then you may be filled with a certain kind of hope and a certain confidence in that and a certain buoyancy. But then you leave that and you go to the outside, there's the world again, you turn on the TV or you listen to, some other podcast. And then you find yourself immersed in the world again, immersed in its problems. And the difficulty is, we'll naturally navigate life based upon what's outside of us because we have to live life in a community, in a world. The problem is we're not supposed to live such that the world becomes our main driver in life, that the world dictates on how we feel, that what's going on in the world dictates how everything is going. No, what dictates how well a Christian moves, how well a Christian rolls ultimately is him starting from within and moving out. That is the only way to find peace, and that's the only way to find any real grounding. And also, it's the only way to find any real direction. Because unless you see the Christ living within you and moving out of that, then you understand that it's about your mission in life is to be a light to the world, to be the salt of the earth. If you don't understand your mission is to be the light, then your mission is going to be just about saving yourself or having your own needs met. You will always find yourself lost. And the reason why you'll always find yourself lost is because the answers aren't really out in the world so much. They're really from within. The answer starts with God. He moves from within. He transforms you. And so your mood, your disposition of life is about as good as God is within you. That's where we're all called to be. And if it becomes about the outside, then we will run into despair. And I find too, in your journey, one of the things that I find very important to men is that, and this also holds also in a very direct way for your identity, is that it's easier, especially for older men oftentimes, when they connect with their relationship with their son, then they can understand more the relationship with God and how to see the world. And so the father always wants the son to know that he's provided for and protected and he's covered. And so when a father can realize this is what he hopes from his son, and he needs to realize, well, that is what God hopes from him. And so this is why living the spiritual life oftentimes is something very natural. It's not that extraordinary, because the Christian journey fundamentally is a journey that parallels with nature itself. More specifically, parallels with the journey of relationship of father and son. So the father wants to say to his son, son, I always got your back. Son, I hope you know you're always provided for. Son, you could come to me for anything. Son, you are the joy of my life. Son, if you ever need to work anything out, let's talk about it, and we'll get to where you're supposed to be. And if a man takes all of these aspirations which he feels with his son, and then actually even writes them down and then reads them back to himself, understanding that, well, he's the son of the eternal Father, that his father says to him, son, I've got you taken care of. Son, I'm providing. Son, I'm guiding you. Son, it's all going to be okay. And when a man understands that comes from his eternal Father, then his life changes. And he needs to believe that if he is a son, a dad wants to talk to his kids. That's just what a dad is. So the challenge of the Christian life in many respects, as far as I see it anyways, is to really believe the God above who calls himself Father really is a father and really does care and really has not just these same sentiments that a human father has for his son, but he has even deeper and greater sentiments. And it's not only that the father, that he's like a good father, has good gifts of leading, protecting, and providing, but the Heavenly Father has perfect giftings and abilities and capacities for leading, protecting, and providing. And so when a son can yield to this identity that he now has in the eternal Father, then he can really find his way. And it has to be the case, because if not, then he's going to yield to everything that's going on inside him, and he will only be as good as that which is going around him.